Hey there, beautiful souls. Welcome back. Today I have a message for you, which as usual is coming directly from experiences in my own life, and I absolutely love sharing them with you guys in the hope that they hit you in the heart and wake you up to something very empowering and get you moving in the right direction. And I love, as you guys know, really hearing from you guys as well. So on this journey. So as I start the conversation with you guys today, I want to hear from you. I want to know, what are your thoughts? What are your perspective? What's your experience on what we're talking about today when I start jumping into it? And definitely any questions that you might have, any words of wisdom that you want to contribute. And I absolutely always love hearing from you guys in terms of where you are in the world. I love our global community. So I want to hear from you. So drop me a comment. Let me know where in the world you're tuning in from. And if this message does serve you in any way, then I'd absolutely love if you do share it with any of your inner circle or any groups that you might be a part of, or just whatever you feel called to in whatever way. I would be immensely grateful to each and every one of you guys for doing so. But today, I'm going to tell a little bit of a story, and I'm going to kind of tackle this common theme that's been popping up with a lot of the people that I've been working with, and in my own personal life and in my coaching and everything. And I want to talk about the topic of actually resentment. And how you guys have heard me, for those of you who've been following me for a while, you absolutely know that I'm always saying that resentment is the silent killer of all connection. And today I want to talk about an experience that I personally had in a conversation that was very enlightening to all of us who are involved in it. And I want to share that with you in the hope that it helps you navigate a depth of connection and get out of resentment and transform it into growth. And I'm going to talk about how you actually get to do that. So today's topic is a question for you, which is, are you sacrificing meaningful connection for the false sense of superiority that resentment gives you? And I'm going to break that down for you guys now and talk about it. So I want to lead with this kind of the meaning that I create around resentment, which is, I believe that resentment is a false empowerment that gives you a feeling of superiority and is reliant on the maintenance of a story in your mind that sacrifices meaningful connection. Now, that was a lot of words, and I'll break it down for you guys. But basically what I'm saying with that is that, when you have resentment for another, and I'm going to articulate it through story so it's easier to comprehend and understand, and then you can apply it to your own life. But basically, I was having a really great conversation with somebody the other day, and we were having this really long conversation, and what happened was they were asking me a question, and I was responding to the question, but then I realized they really just wanted to share a bunch of what had been going on in their life. And they really just wanted to be heard and listened to. And basically, I was hearing this person out, and they were speaking probably nonstop for about 30, even getting up to 40 minutes, right, of just straight conversation and sharing. And basically, I found myself kind of going a little bit of a journey in that conversation, which was, I felt like a little bit of because you guys know me by now, I've got constant ideas coming up, all these different thoughts coming up. In any sort of conversation, I've got a million things going on in my mind that I want to share and contribute to the conversation. And, somebody says this and it sparks this kind of idea for me, and all this sort of stuff goes on within me, right? That's why I love doing these videos for you guys, because I've got so much I want to share. And basically, I felt myself be asked a question. I tried to respond to it, and then this person went on and spoke for a long time. And I felt this energy rise in me that felt like a little bit of anger, like a little bit of frustration, right? Because I had so much of And as they were talking and I was listening and actually experiencing what I was experiencing with this kind of rise of kind of frustration, and, you know, kind of like having that come up, I went through a bit of a personal growth shift as I was listening in this conversation. And as I felt that energy rise, I asked myself, what's going on? Like, and then I realized I'm like, oh, I really have a lot to say here. And they just keep talking and talking and talking, and I want to contribute. And I thought they were asking me a question, right? And then I got to a point, I was like, okay, that's what I'm feeling. That's the reason why. That's the story going on. And then I had to ask myself, well, what is the ultimate aim of this conversation, right? And the ultimate aim was to connect with this person, right? And in order to connect with them, I had to connect with their humanity. And I had to see what's actually going on for this person is they really just want to be heard. They want to be seen. They want to be listened to. And I know that every single one of us, you know, we just want to be loved, seen, heard, honored, appreciated, accepted for the truth of who we are. And so we're going to want to share that. And so my transition out of, hang on a minute, like they're not listening to what I'm saying. I thought they were asking me a question, and now they're talking, having that energy of anger kind of come out a little bit, and then shift gears by shifting my perspective in the conversation, you know, and going, oh, actually, you know what is my ultimate end game here? To feel resentful to this person, to create disconnection, to be judgmental of them and disconnect? Or is it ultimately to have a higher level of connection and realize that in this moment, this person, how I can show up and more fully connect with them and build a better connection with them is to actually just realize they just want to be heard. They just want to be understood. They just don't want to be listened to. They just want to feel a sense of holding space, that they can be more of who they are with me. And because I made that shift, coupled with this very important factor, which is the fact that I'm not reliant on somebody else to make me feel loved, seen, heard, validated, understood, accepted, approved of, because I'm doing that for myself. And it's not that we don't want to be able to invite other people to do for us what, like I was doing with this amazing human being, right? And we don't, it's just that if we have the capacity to do those things for ourselves, then in moments of time where somebody else's needs are coming to the forefront, we're actually able to see them for their humanity, see them for the connection of just wanting to share more of who they are. And we're not like, we don't have this obsessive need to be the one who's being heard or understood or whatever, because, you know, for me, I just put a pause on that. And I'm like, okay, this environment, this connection in this particular moment in time is calling for me to hold space for this human being to more fully meet their needs, because my ultimate aim is a higher level of connection. And I'm not eager to like get my point across here, because I can just put a pause on that and I can know I can give that to myself later. And I know this other human being can give that to me as well, right? But it was just at this particular moment in time, that was what was being called for in order to meet the higher aim of a depth of connection with somebody else, right? And it allowed me to like relieve like the sense of anger or frustration that was going on in the story I was trying to tell myself in that moment, was connecting to a higher purpose of what the ultimate aim is, and then a realization that I'm able to do that for myself. And so if I feel a sense of needing to feel more understood or heard or seen or accepted or loved or appreciated, I'm going to give that gift to myself because I can. And I'm not going to expect somebody else to do that for me when I don't ultimately need to do that right now, right? Like if my ultimate end game is a higher depth of connection with this amazing human being in my life, then, you know, sometimes that's going to call for me, like just putting the pause button on what I think I need in that moment, knowing full well I can give that to myself, and knowing full well that sometimes in any relationship that you're in, it's going to call for you might not get exactly what you want as an individual in that precise moment, but that's what keeps us stuck if we're just two individuals trying to get what we want, and not able to give to the other anything, right, that they may need in that moment. So that's what creates the tension in our dynamics. And when we are developing a very self-loving relationship with ourselves, where we're able to create space for ourselves, to see ourselves, to witness ourselves, to hear ourselves, to go deeper within ourselves, to give ourselves acceptance, approval, validation, all of those beautiful things that we love to have and are needs for us as human beings, then when we can take a pause and what we can show up in whatever the current moment is calling for us to do, because we have that higher purpose of meaningful depth of connection, and not just, this resentment that builds up that gives us a false sense of superiority that, ultimately makes us feel empowered in the moment, but it's not empowerment, because what we're doing is we're sacrificing the opportunity for meaningful connection with another. And the reason why we get trapped in that loop is because we're not really doing the work within ourselves to make sure that we're meeting our own needs, so that we don't have to build resentment and anger towards somebody else because they're not giving us what we need, because we know that we're able to do that for ourselves. And by doing so, we're actually able to show up for others in the ways that we want to be shown up for as well, and invite them into that journey with us. And the ultimate aim is we're in relationships with others who do the same, right? They look after themselves. They don't need us to show up and be there, but they're open to us fully meeting our needs. But when the moment calls for it, we're able to shift roles, we're able to shift gears, and we're able to meet the ultimate outcome of a higher depth of connection with the other human being that we want to build an extraordinary quality of relationship with, in whatever realm that may be. So I hope that me sharing that definitely resonates with you guys, and I hope that it has inspired you to look into your own life right now and truthfully ask yourself, in which relationships with which people am I harboring a bit of resentment? And I want you to be so honest with yourself about this. Is that sense of resentment connected to the story that you're telling yourself, right? Based on the experiences that you may have, is that actually giving you a false sense of empowerment and keeping you stuck in that story, right? That's not serving a meaningful connection with you and that other human being. And how could you shift gears and give yourself a true sense of empowerment by going, okay, instead of me chasing the feeling unconsciously maybe for this false sense of superiority and this anger and resentment that makes me feel empowered in the moment and better than, how can I shift that? Because I want the ultimate end game is actually a higher level of connection. It's not creating this disconnection and this false sense of superiority and empowerment. And instead, I want to shift gears to personal growth, expansion, and depth of connection with another, right? And transform the quality of this connection. How can I make that shift? And ultimately, it ends up being, look at what you feel that person isn't giving you that's creating the resentment. All right. And when you're able to do that and you're able to pinpoint that, right, whatever it is, for me in that particular moment, I was like, I want to be heard here. Like I want to express something meaningful and be seen and understood and, create deeper insight because of that, right? Because that's what it juices me. Instead, you want to take that, identify what those things are, and then you want to go, that's the work that I need to do. Thank you, dark guru, who's not giving me what I think I want right now in the moment, because you're creating clarity of the pathway forward for me to develop and grow myself in the most meaningful ways, so that I don't have to build resentment towards you and gain my false sense of empowerment here. Instead, I'm going to create a true sense of empowerment through using our connection and the dynamic to create clarity of the pathway that I most need to grow and and develop in my relationship with self, so I can go about doing that and feel a true sense of empowerment, and ultimately allow me to build an actually meaningful connection with you and any other human being I wish to do so, right? So use everybody outside of you as that amazing mirror into the work that you need to do to be most empowered. And remember, when you get caught up in resentment, just be honest with yourself and ask yourself, am I getting a bit caught up in this and it's given me a bit of a false sense of superiority, which I'm sacrificing my own personal growth for, and a meaningful connection and the possibility of connection that I can create with anybody else? All right, so hope this really serves you, and I really hope you apply it to your life. I hope it's triggered something within you that can really support you in being the best possible human being that you can be proud of yourself for in every area of your life, from relationship to self, with relationship with all others. All right, so let me check in with you guys, see who's been able to join me. So drop me a comment, let me know where in the world you're tuning in from, any questions, any comments, any words of wisdom. I love when you co-create this space, but let me check in with you guys. And I have got Graham in the house, and I also, has been a few of you that I've reached out to personally via email, asking you a very important question. And Graham, I know you are one of the incredible human beings who did respond and really did support me on something that I'm really working on in my life to be able to serve you guys at a much higher level. So Graham, so much love and appreciation for you, and everybody else. If you have responded to an email, you did receive that and you have responded to it. I got a bunch of you there, and I'm so appreciative, and I'm going to respond to each and every one of you personally. So just, yeah, bear with me, but I am getting back to you and so appreciative. So love having you here as always, Graham, and like that this time maybe is a little earlier so I can catch you in the UK. And Francisco is here. Good afternoon from Mexico. Cool. Love having you here, my friend. And Simon's in the house. Yay. And Moises. Yay. And Wayne and Marie and Dennis. You did it again. Great timing. Thanks for the share, Den. Always grateful to have you tuning in from the amazing place that is Ireland. Thank you so much, Dennis. Great to have you as usual. And Samuel's here. Awesome. And Jose. Hola, Vanessa. I'm not normally resentful to people who do wrong to me, but the worst thing ever done is being resented to myself. Oh, abso-freaking-lutely. This situation had avoided me to grow in all areas of my life, how to break blockages in my subconscious and get to know my real worth as a person. I can't get in any new relationships because of my own resentments. I love you always bring such amazing shares and questions to these conversations, Jose. I'm so appreciative of you. And let me give you this little piece of, wisdom, that I've discovered along my journey as well. Anytime I end up in resentment towards another, I'm actually resentful to myself, right? Because what happens is when we build resentment, remember I say it's the silent killer of all connection. It's because we're not speaking up. We're not being truthful. We're not sharing, hey, this isn't working for me, or, we're not speaking up. And so we project that anger and that resentment towards those external people, but ultimately it's because we're not showing up in our best way. We're not courageously aligning with what's authentic to us. We're not having a voice, right? And so I love that you connected those things, because they are in total connection. And also, so your question is how to break the blockages in my subconscious and get to know my real worth as a person. This is the ultimate game for humanity. It is, if we just focused on this one thing, I feel like it's the linchpin to most of our challenges in life, right? And that is that we tend to have low self-esteem, meaning that we do not believe in the value that we have just inherently for being a human being. And so the greatest gift that you'll ever hope to give to yourself is that knowledge of your worth and your value, despite what you've done or not done, right? Because we want to be able to differentiate between that. Just like it's not the qualities of you, right, that are unique and different and more valuable to external sources that make you a valuable human being. What makes you a valuable human being is that you show up as who you are, right? And that's where all of your value is. So when we are doubting in our value or our worth, it's really just a reflection that we're not showing up and we're not shining from the truth of who we are. And maybe that's because we're disconnected from who we are and we need to go on the self-discovery journey. Or maybe that's kind of like we know who we are, but we're terrified of how other people are going to respond to that. So we have a fear of and a holding back of that, right? Whatever the reason is, I'll tell you how I have gone about really owning my value and my worth in a really self-honoring and humanity-honoring way, right? Where you realize that we're all equal in value. There is not one human being more valuable than the next, right? When you get to the place of our humanity, our heart, our soul, our oneness, our connection, we can get all woo-woo and spiritual about it, but basically that is the truth. And the way you get out of your own insecurities about that is you start the journey of really discovering who you are, what you're most inspired by, and you have the courage to move in that aligned, authentic direction that is purposeful, meaning that you're contributing to something bigger than just yourself. You're realizing our interconnectedness, right? And that is ultimately the journey of building the value and the worth and the realization of the equality between us and everyone else when we see the humanity within and we're able to see beyond what we compare ourselves to with other people, and we're able to just show up with this full expression, and we know that by doing so we're having a meaningful impact. And that's going to take some courage for you to actually take some action in that direction so that you generate the experience over and over again that your authentic self is so bright and so beautiful and can have such a meaningful impact on others. And when it becomes about authentic alignment, you know, from a place of inspiration and a purposeful direction and intention to contribute to the lives of others through the truth of who you are and not in sacrifice of who you are, that is when you're really developing the knowledge and awakening to the knowledge that you are valuable and worthwhile no matter what you've done or not done, but just purely for the humanity of who you are in equality with every other human being. All right, so hope that serves you, Jose. I so appreciate your co-creation and contribution to the conversation. And Arlen is here as well, and Hoa. And Graham, very insightful. I can see the positive side, but what if your resentment is from what someone has said, for example, in a work setting, and resulted in you getting more work, or seen as an seen in an unfair, poorer light? Again, you know, like I look at resentment as it's really just how like victims bask in resentment. Right? Okay. And when you get this, it's kind of a rude awakening. I know for me personally, because the last thing I ever want to be in this world is a victim, right? Because victims don't create their lives. And so I trigger myself. I kind of give myself a little kick with that. And I go, you know what? Victims bask in resentment, and creators grow, right? And they like whatever you're fearing, like whatever you're resenting, right? From what somebody said, which has now created an experience for you where you feel like you're seen in an unfair light, right? You want to realize that you can stay stuck in that kind of mentality around it. You want to honor it, right? You want to go, yeah, that, you know what? That was not right. What that person said, what they did, that was not right. How can I address that? Right? And how can I make sure that I'm operating as the kind of person who will have no regrets around this situation? What if I just had said this? What if I had done this? Right? And I can operate from a way that creates some sort of change here. Hey, that wasn't okay. Whether that is a personal conversation that you have with that person, with your management, your workplace, whatever, or you just do that work within yourself, and then you go, okay, what would it take for me to be really proud of myself? What are the certain characteristics, traits, actions that I can step into and engage in this situation as a human being that I will be very proud of myself for? And the moment you align with the kind and the quality of person that you know you can be, and you will be truly proud of yourself for, that is when, even if other people don't come with you on that journey and see you in the great light that they should, it actually just is kind of water off the back. I know it doesn't sound like it, and I'm not trying to minimize that experience at all. But when you feel good within yourself, when you know your intentions behind what you do, when you align with your authentic self that you're proud of, right? When you step up to a higher standard than maybe what's being represented externally from you, you have certainty within yourself that's unshakable. And when other people say bad things, they see you in a poorer light, they're judgmental, you know, all those things that you're upset about, you see it actually as having no personal bearing on you, although it's not ideally what you want. You see it as no personal bearing on you, and you're actually to see, you know, how fear-driven, how maybe hurt, damaged, unhealed, wounded, you know, kind of the other people who operate in those ways are. Because remember, everybody's an open book, and whatever they project onto you, they're really just going, hey, here's the big book on me. This is what I think of myself, and this is how I judge myself, and all that sort of stuff. And so when you're aligned with who you are, you're operating as your higher self, you're proud of who that is, that you start to see this whole other world of people opening their books for you, right? So I really appreciate you sharing your experience and asking the questions, Graham. I so appreciate you, my friend, and I really hope that what I just shared then is of value to you, and hope it supports and empowers you. And reach out anytime. So, and Uras is here, and Raman, and Samuel. Ego is always a problem in relationships, seeing things from another person. Yeah, it's super important. Great point here, Samuel, is to be able to shift perspectives. Now, I'll give you a tool that I used to use all the time in the beginning, and now it's just become second nature, which is basically the shifting perspectives process. Not very original name, but basically what you do is whenever you're in a challenge, in a dynamic, in a fight, in an argument, remove yourself from the situation. And it could be with one person, it could be with a group of people. And what you do is, number one, because everybody just wants to be understood, right? And we're always, when anybody's ever arguing, it's always those people are arguing over who has the biggest victim story. They just want to be heard, right? They want to be right. They want to be heard, right? And so what you need to do is step one, after you've removed yourself, call the time out, right, is to write down your full perspective. From my shoes, this is what I'm seeing, feeling, hearing, interpreting, all those different things. This is my perspective. And you write it all out to the point where you've actually just given yourself the gift of understanding. You've just heard yourself out, you've just seen yourself, you've just owned it, and now you're feeling fully understood by yourself, right? The thing that we all want from other people when we're fighting. Step two, after that, is to then shift into the perspective of another person. And let me just tell you now, you won't be able to do this until you personally feel understood within yourself. So you can't skip over that step to write to yourself, right? All your perspective down. The next one is, now you've created space. Now you're actually able to step into the shoes of another person genuinely and just really look at it from a different perspective. You might even want to shift around physically to kind of embody how are they seeing this scenario? What's their perspective here? What's truly going on for them? Not through the eyes of you, but truly through their eyes. And write that down. And if there's more people involved, do it from everybody who's involved's perspective. And then you've now got clarity, and now you're actually really understanding the others. And so therefore it puts you in this position of centeredness, where you're actually able to find an actual solution. And remember, in alignment with today's conversation, is you've got to have the higher purpose and aim of that connection to their humanity and the desire to have quality connection with others. All right. And so you're going to have to be the leader, right? If I'm talking to you and we're having this conversation, you're the leader, right? And so I hope that helps and serves and gives you a tool to really apply this stuff to your life. So Awesome. Love it, Samuel. And Jose, thank you always. You're so helpful with your answers. I'm so grateful to hear that. Thank you so much, Jose, and thanks for showing up again. And Jerry's here. Hi, Vanessa. Sorry was late. We'll listen to the replay. Awesome, Jerry. Hope you're doing amazingly well. And Graham, you are so welcome, my friend. Grateful that this was of value. And Eric, good morning to you. So any of you guys who are just joining us now, I hope you catch a recording, get a ton of value from today's message, because I'm just about to sign off, but I can't do so without my daily reminder, which is to go out there and honor your authenticity, right? Be really in alignment. If you're not really sure of who it is that you are, that's maybe you're at the part where you got to go on the self-discovery journey. And for those of you who want to have a journey that's mapped out for you in that regard, you got to come and join us in the Limitless Potential Academy. In the monthly masterclasses, that's literally what I've done. Every month you get a new masterclass, and all of them are the greatest tools that I have learned and applied to my own life, that I've simplified and systemized for you to create your own personal growth journey through self-awareness, transformation, and empowerment. All right. And so I've literally done that from the beginning of my personal development journey back in 2013, all the way up to today. All the best tools, I've systemized and simplified them for you, and you get access to focus on one every single month, so that you can go about the journey of knowing fully who you are, aligning with that truth, right? And then knowing what you want and having the courage to pursue it and show up in the world as your best, most empowered self, right? That was a long-winded honor your authenticity, but also I want you to know to deepen your intimacy, to share more of who you are and connect at higher levels with others around you, and ultimately contribute meaningfully and purposefully. You've got a gift, you've got a uniqueness that we want to drum out of you. We want you shining bright. We want you fully in alignment with your greatest powers that you have as gifts to contribute to the world around you, because we're all different in that respect. And if you're not going to offer your gifts, we're going to miss out on them. All right. So we've got to all get out of our way of the insecurities and the fears, and we need to go on the growth journey, and we need to share all of who we are from the depths of who we are. All right. So love it. And Ramon, I like that. Honor your authenticity. Always, my friend. Grateful that that aligns with you. So much love for each and every one of you guys. Thank you so much for showing up today, for contributing to the conversation, and I cannot wait to see you guys soon. Much love.